Hello and welcome to the very first ever episode of Over the Loop, YouTube's newest RC racing show, broadcast right here from the UK. My name's Adam Drain and I'm the guy behind Over the Loop. The idea of this show really is to bring the latest news and race footage from the UK and around the world. My biggest passion is RC racing, and I've got a little bit of broadcast experience as well, so I thought I'd combine the two into a monthly YouTube show called Over the Loop. So thank you for joining me on what is this pilot episode. With it being a pilot episode, that means I need your feedback. Tell me what you like, what you didn't like, what we can improve, what you want more of, and you get to shape the future of this show. So let's get started by taking a look at what's coming up. Coming up on this episode of Over the Loop, we'll be in Southport for the F2 345 finals, getting pretty wet. We'll run through the latest news from the world of RC all around the world. We'll take another trip to Southport as we look at our retro video of the month. Plus, we'll have some special guests. Well, as you can see, plenty coming up in this very first ever episode of Over the Loop. Plenty to fill the next half an hour or so of your life. So stay with us because we get started with the news. It was wet at Southport for the F2, 3, 4 and 5 end of season finals, but thanks to some amazing work from the club, we did manage to get racing in both two-wheel drive and four-wheel drive. In fact, by the time the finals came around on Sunday, it was bone dry and the sun was shining. Let's take a look at your winners then. Two-wheel drive F2 was taken by Greg Williams, whilst in F345 it was Kevin Hodkinson. Moving on to the Sunday, and four-wheel drive F2 was Lloyd Story, whilst in the F345 category it was young Tyler Liddell taking the win. In Germany, the Nürburgring hosted the first round of the EOS series, with Mikael Orlowski taking the honours in four-wheel drive and Una Hartnen taking his first win in two-wheel drive. The X-Ray XB2 C19 has been released with some large-scale geometry changes at the rear, as well as lower profile shock towers and shocks all around. So with the news done, let's take a slightly more in-depth look at something that was just mentioned, and that is, of course, the F2 345 finals at Southport. I picked up my two X-Ray cars and went along to Southport, which is one of my favourite RC locations in the UK, I have to say, mainly because it's so flat and high grip. I always love that. And of course, it's a great crew up at Southport as well, very welcoming and a great atmosphere to race at. It was a great place to go for the final outdoor race of the season. So let's take a look at my wrap up of what happened, which will be very quickly followed by the race of the weekend. So this is Southport two-wheel drive day. See, it's a little bit moist, and I think probably the most overused phrase this morning is "we must be mad." Well, not sure we've mentioned this already, but Southport was pretty wet, especially on Saturday. The heavens opened first thing in the morning. In fact, it started overnight and just didn't stop all day. At some points the rain was worse than others, and one decision had to be made.
Okay drivers, due to the weather conditions we've made the decision to cancel the second round of practice. We will make a further decision announcement at 10 o'clock.
In fact, it wasn't the only delay of the day. We only ended up with 3 rounds of qualifying. Nice umbrella, Callum. But we did manage to get some on-track action. It was pretty wet all day, in fairness. There was certainly no moving from silvers, and it made for some interesting action and a changed up grid, and those cobbles in the wet were of course great fun. But we did still manage to get plenty of running and enjoyed ourselves. Hi Bish. On Sunday, the blue sky was beginning to show through and we had a much quicker track. Let's face it, it was still going to be pretty wet all day, but everyone was smiling at least. Hi Mike. We did have spray all day and it was silvers for most of the day, but then there was chopping and changing between tyres throughout the rest of qualifying. But by finals time it was definitely an all yellows track and everyone ended up on a bone dry surface for the final races of the day. Overall, it was a great weekend and some fantastic racing action. So as you can see, it was a pretty wet weekend all round. I think most people took a good few days to dry out their footwear, and there's probably still some very damp tents and gazebos stuck in garages up and down the land. Now, what I did promise you was some great race footage from that weekend. So thank you to the Lidl channel on YouTube, which most of you will be very familiar with. We're going to pinch some footage from probably the driest part of the weekend, which was the four-wheel drive finals. Quite specifically, I want to pick up on race 3 of the four-wheel drive A finals, so leg 3. And this one was a very, very tight battle. Now, some of you will know Tony Bishop, the Midwest regional organiser, and he is famous for what he calls the Bish train. A gaggle of cars stacked up behind him when he's leading. Now, he tried it in leg 1, and it didn't go so well. He tried it in leg 2, and it went really well, up until 6 corners from the end, and it all went wrong. So he had another go in leg 3. Let's take a look at the Bish train in action.
Off and away they go. Tony Bishop getting a good start in front of Lloyd, but Tommy just behind, and Greg Williams. Let's keep an eye on this because this should be a good race, battling for the second spot. Lloyd Story took the win on the first 2 rounds of 15. He was crowned the champion, but he's still winning 3 days. All the others dug at the pavement, and we think what happened in this race can affect how they get on. They look at the pavement good, and I think they'll figure it out. We'll find out as they go down the slope. Coming back up the slope, we have Tony Bishop with Lloyd Story closely behind him, but Tommy Hall can have a good last final. Christian Bay at the first jump, hanging a left, going over the big jump. Oh, and Lloyd getting very close, come past Tony there. Very close, all of them come onto the straight. All one, all the way from the field there. Still get back to 4th place. So, as we have the, I think 4 minutes in going on, Lloyd and Tommy are getting even closer behind Tony, but Tony's focusing on finishing the race at the front, isn't going to look any big errors. Tony coming on, so hanging right, Lloyd hanging right, coming in, hanging right, up the slope, through the chicane, over the jump, hang left, up the slope, over the bump, taking him right, oh, Tony gets along and Lloyd gets past. Now Tommy very keen to Tony, but until Tony's only soon get back past Lloyd. Over the big jump they go, over the hump, right, all over the back of Tommy at the minute. Tommy's very keen to get past Tony. But there's a bit too much principal dragon there, taking away up the slope, taking away down the slope over the jump, sweeping up and through. Round the humps, up the bump, and off Lloyd goes. Lloyd's got a small gap with Tony behind him, but Tony's under pressure from Tommy. Greg not quite close enough to executing the moves over Tommy yet, but Tommy is closer. Very, very close to Tony. This is looking good. Very close. But Tony's just pulled a small match. And Greg's standing right behind Tommy. So it's all to play for in this one. Okay, as they come down the slope, up the slope, Lloyd's managed to really pull away on this one. I think he has. Oh no, he hasn't. Lloyd's dropped back. Tony's retaken the lead. Lloyd's in the 3rd spot. Tommy's through. Tommy is just taking right onto the straight now. So he's very keen to get the win. This is really helping with how his races have gone. Tony's really holding his own right now, so they're taking a right down the bump, over the lump, taking left up the hill, down the hill. So all 4 of these guys really battling, so any one of these guys could win. Tony holding his own, so keeping his car nice and wide, hanging a left, hanging a right. As they go down the straight now, this is 2 minutes 10 to go. You've got Tony, you've got Tommy, you've got Lloyd and Greg, Jamie Hall, James Chappell, Tom Martin, John Mayer, Mark and Harry. So at the front, they're all together, all 4 cars within 4 metres of track. Even less than that once they stop making off. Tommy goes for a route, doesn't quite pull it off. He's so close to the back of Tony. They're making the same region together, and I'm sure they've had many battles before. Lloyd Story and Greg Williams are just behind them, searching for a little way to get through. Greg's very close to the back of the Lloyd now. Maybe he can squeeze himself up to third. He'll find out. Then you've got Tommy in the second spot. Hasn't got quite up as close as he had done before to the back of Tony. And then sliding up his side. Not sliding, they're driving at this point. There's no gear coming back anymore. So round the bank corner, over the little jump, taking us up the hill, over the bump. Taking us down, going over the bump, come back up. Very, very close now. Tommy is so close to the back of Tony's car. Better drivers over the years. He's not going to be taking Tony out, but he's going to be coming past through the gap. Taking right on for the straight. Tony managed to just keep a nice gap, but Greg's still over the back of Lloyd. Really giving it some over the jumps and up the hill. He's really keen to get past Lloyd. Hasn't managed it so far. Tony comes over the first jump, over the second jump. He's going over normally, all going over normally. They're not going for the punching. So taking a left, taking a right. That bump right. All coming past the back one another. Thank you very much. Taking a right down the slope, over the jump, back up the hill, over the bump. Tommy Hall is still on the back of Tony. Is he going to get past? He looks left, he looks right. Going up into the 180 now, going over the jump. Who gets it right, who gets it wrong? Oh, there he goes. He looks for it. Oh, Greg takes the tumble. So he's lost a bit of time. But he's going to try and get it back with 19 seconds to go. They're going up the bank for maybe the last time, I believe it is the last time. Oh, there's been a mistake from Tommy. Lloyd gets back up to second. Greg gets up to third. Up the slope, down the slope, over the jump. Tony's got a nice gap now. He can just keep it going. He'll be alright. But Lloyd King, they're racing to the line now. Tony comes down. Greg goes for it. Punches it. Oh, and Lloyd gets the second spot. Greg Williams is there. Tommy Hall's fourth.
Now, at the very beginning, I promised some special guests, so let's have one. Now, the format of our guests in Over the Loop is not a long, drawn-out interview that takes a long time and we sit there umming and ahhing, thinking of things to talk about. Instead, it's a very formatted 10 questions. Every person that comes on this show will get 10 questions to answer. Now, our first guest is Nathan Ralls. Nathan is an X-ray driver. He's an X-ray factory driver and has performed at a very, very high level, including European Championships and, of course, World Championships as well. He's a man of great experience, and being one of my teammates was very easy to get hold of for this very first pilot episode. So let's take a look at 10 questions with Nathan Ralls.
Well, I got my first car, which was a Mardave Apache, back in 1985 of Christmas. And after a few weeks, my brother, who had a Hornet, and I got bored of racing up and down the street. And so we found our local club, thanks to the model shop we bought the cars from. And that was Canterbury Burners. We started there, behind some pub, racing in a grass field on a bit of rickety old scaffolding, and after about a year or so progressed on with cars and everything else, and ended up doing regionals and then internationals. I think in '89 my brother won the two-wheel drive radio race car series and I finished fourth, which as an under 13 I didn't think was too bad. And the rest, as they say, is history. I've had a few breaks over the years, but I've been back properly since '06. 05. I did a year of 8th and then came back to 10th, where the heart is, and haven't stopped since. That's a difficult one. There's so many awesome ones over the years, from rear-ended Optimas to my latest vintage project of a Laser ZXR. God. From a development point of view, probably the Predator X1108. I did tons of work on the car, and took it from being a pros only to anybody that could build a car solidly could drive it, and got some really good results along the way. I think I did a qualifier, I had a second in round at Eden Park, made about 4 or 5 A finals with the car, so yeah, and did Europeans with it, or 2 Europeans with it in fact. So yeah, that's probably my favourite development car. Favourite RC car to drive? Probably a XX4 or even the Losi XX. Both of those were so easy to drive out the box. and were both really quick. Double X4 just needed the batteries back in the day. But to drive, yeah, probably 2 Losis were to drive and the Predator to actually develop. My favourite one has got to be, yeah, probably Trackiston in Austria. We did, I think it was the 08 Euros there. Yeah, I managed to qualify 13th in both classes, which at the time, the Schumacher 2-wheel drive, which was the Cougar SV, wasn't that competitive on clay. So to put it 13th, I think I was second Schumacher on the day. One of either Tom Cockrell or Simon Moss put their 2-wheel drive and 4-wheel drive into the A final just above me, but only one or the other. So I was really happy with that. 4-wheel drive, I managed to hold on to the 13th as well. So that's probably my best results at an actual event. I've had a couple of second in rounds at nationals, which for me has been, that's about as good as what I can get. So yeah, but I would say probably that Euros result. Probably come to one of our training days. Yeah, I know. No, joking aside, in the southeast we've been doing these to promote the clubs more than anything. So we've done 2, well, we're doing 2 at both Barham and Eden Park. Your day is basically spent about how to drive a proper lap or proper run of Eden Park, but we go through a whole set of lessons of what we prep, why we prep, how we prep, which sends most people forwards. They realise it's not so much about the pinpoint accuracy, it's more about the consistency of what you build and why. Then onto track walks, what we're aiming at and everything else, and then onto, you know, sort of one-on-one driving tuition. So that would probably be my best tip to a club racer wanting to improve. Even if not with one of ours, stick to someone like Lee Martin, and I think there's some other F1s that do training days as well. They're just the ones that I can list off the top of my head. So, but yeah, most people that come to us, they find a good second a lap at least. The average club racer is finding 2 to 3. And so that would probably be my best tip. If you're not able to do that, relax and have fun. It's toy cars. You can't force it. It has to happen naturally. So just keep practicing and keep enjoying it more than anything else. Am I allowed 3? Go on, give me 3. All right. That's still here is down to 2. For actual facility and amazingness, it's got to be Robin Hood. It's one of my bogey tracks. I never go well there, but the work that James and the crew around him put in on the place, it's one of the best in the world. Never mind in the UK, it rivals probably 95% of tracks that I've seen around the world, and is only beaten by sort of places like Yatabe, which are a full complex. They're not just a track, and the money that they have thrown at them government-wise as well as racer-wise is insane. So, but for built in a field, definitely Robin Hood. Locally, for me to drive-wise, because I go well there, is Eden Park, simply because it's so rewarding when you nail a lap. You take chunks of time out of people, and it's all about the driving on the track. It's not about how fast you can push, it's about hitting every point. Tracks that aren't here anymore has to be Tiverton. Their indoor clay track, for me, fantastic. Was just, you'd go there over a winter time and you'd have, of the 30 F1s, at least 20 would be there. People would come from all over the country, and so it's like having a winter national series at one place. So has to be that. Unfortunately, it's not there anymore. Although their outdoor track is very, very close to Eden Park and Robin Hood in how good it is. I believe it's a touch small for the national series, but I did my F3s there where I did the double, and I loved it because, again, you drove the track. There was so much elevation change on it. I thought it was awesome. But their indoor track used to be something to be beheld when you got to drive it. It was fantastic. Again, I'm going to need 2, I'm sorry to say. In terms of organisation, and amazingness of track, it has to be Vasa in Finland. I did the Worlds there in 2011, I think it was. And that was just amazing. The amount of staff that they had to make sure it all ran smoothly, and the track to attack and drive was just phenomenal. It really was. I've never been to an event since like it, other than maybe the Europeans at Robin Hood, and that was, again, that is a very, very close second. Other than that, around the world has got to be Yatabi, simply because it was one of my heroes tracks. And so I wanted to go there, and I had the opportunity, and I grabbed it. Personally, I have a schedule. Normally, when I get a day pass to do a test day, I've got a lot of information to try and correlate and run through, and a lot of stuff to try. At that point, if it's not all written down, you ain't going to get through it. I'm also very lucky that normally when I go for a test day, I have one of about 4 or 5 people with me, at least, if not all of them, and they help me run all that information through. So, you know, normally I have either George Tolman, Mark Revel, Stuart Band, Phil Craddock, you know, Ian Parker, and there's others as well. There's loads that often try and come along and make it. I mean, I've got Simon Helson now starting to come on board. So all these people make it. It's great going off and testing on your own, but when you have a whole group of you and you can run through all the same sort of same test, and you get a correlation of information from every level and style of driver, it means that you get far more information. For me, so everything's scheduled and all feedback written down as well, so when I need to go back to it, it's there. Two-wheel drive, every time. From the era that I came up and through in racing, two-wheel drive, it wasn't so much about duration, so it's far more about driving. So when you got a result in two-wheel drive, you really worked for it, and up until probably the B4, it was really about who could drive and not so much about what batteries you had in the car or what motors. So I was able far easier to get a decent result. But you knew that you'd earned it. So definitely two-wheel drive. Four-wheel drive has always been aim and hang on. So yeah, two-wheel drive, you've always had to work a lot harder. It's always been about throttle finesse up until the sort of mid-motor revolution, where now mid-motor is now sort of flat out and hang on as well. And so yeah, definitely two-wheel. I've got one or two. Racetrack is, or well, you know, sort of driver is Will Gollop. Really loved watching him go up against the big boys in British Rallycross and even European Rallycross. He didn't have the budget of the other teams, or certainly not until the latter years. And so watching him put his 6R4 and other cars around the track and pushing people that had far bigger budgets and beating them most of the time, to me, it was always good to see the underdog do well. Non-racer, I also have a motorsport hero. He's been involved in Formula One for, I think, over 20 odd years. And in his time, he's done everything from wheel gun man to jack man to wind tunnels, prep, building, repairs, all sorts. And that's James Barker. He works for Williams F1. He pitted with me for a couple of years at Nationals, and I really, really enjoyed my time with him. It culminated with him giving me and some of the lads a factory tour of the Williams F1, including the car museum there, which has to be seen to be believed. What really won it for me was when every car, when he ran through, he knew what worked on it, what didn't, why it won, why it didn't win, whether it was driver related, whether it was car related, whether it was just a miss of the latest development piece or whatever, or whether they'd nailed it on that particular year. His knowledge on the cars was just second to none, and so that made the day extra special. It really did. So yeah, James Barker is my motorsport hero who doesn't race, and who did race, because James Barker is my hero, who doesn't race because he is a workman inside the team, but that's far more important than the actual driver most of the time. And as for drivers, definitely Will Gollop. For God's sake. Right, for those that don't know, Adam Drain is one of my X-Ray team drivers, and his car is this reddy orange X-Ray and grey that runs around the track. So the abuse has been this year that we all think it's orange, and in fact in daylight it genuinely is orange. Obviously in this heavily photoshopped picture, including a red arrow on it, it looks almost red. In fact, I'd go a little bit further to say it's probably peach, not orange at the moment. But when he's trackside and the sun shines, that car is Saint-Tropez orange all day long. End of.
5.
Last 30 seconds, still crystal clear. Colin, 5, 2.
Wow, it's good to see Southport with all the concrete. I never got to race there in that format, so it's nice to see it on video. That is our retro video of the month. Now, you can nominate retro video of the month. You spot something on YouTube, as long as it hasn't got any licensed music over the top, let me know what you've spotted. Oh, and try and find something in broadcastable quality as well that I can get hold of. Or maybe you've got a video of your own stashed away that you would like me to feature on the show. If that's the case, leave something in the comments below on whatever media you are watching from, whether it's YouTube, Facebook, whatever, and I will get back to you and we can feature that video. But that was the retro video for this month. Now, the other video of the month that we want to feature is Race of the Month. Now, as you know, the first EOS round was held at the Nürburgring recently. Some amazing racing going on there, but I have to say, this particular leg of the four-wheel drive A finals was just out of this world. Action from start to finish and some really great close racing in there. And I tell you what, watch out for the move 2/3 of the way through Bruno Coelho on Daniel Kobovic. Wow, what an overtake. Take a look at this. This is our race of the month.
And here we go, four-wheel drive, A main number 1. Opening round here at the EOS 2018-2019 season, presented by X-Ray, Team Associated, and Schumacher. It is Mikhail Orlowski starting on pole. Bruno Coelho right behind him, and the all-white Daniel Kobovic behind him. A fantastic start here at A main number 1. Great to be here at the world-famous Nürburgring for the opening round of the EOS season. It has been fantastic racing here. We're starting A main number 1. Bruno down the back straight. No, can't do it. Mikhail opened the door just a little bit coming onto the straightaway, but can't make it stick at the end. It is Orlowski out front in the Schumacher, followed by the X-Ray, the all-orange there, Bruno Coelho. Followed by the all-white there, Daniel Kobovic. Down the straightaway they go. Yona Hotton right behind him in a green machine. Coming up to the crisscross they go. Orlowski and Coelho, nose to tail they go to the front side tabletop. We are quickly 1 minute down, 4 to go. Onto the back straightaway they go. Gripping and a ripping, climbing up the wall and down. It is Orlowski and Coelho, nose to tail. To the crisscross they go. Over the double, to the front side. Just a car length apart. Mikhail keeping it up, Bruno on the inside. There it was, side by side, wheel to wheel. Bruno trying to throw it to the inside, denied by Orlowski. A beautiful attempt there for Bruno Coelho. A perfect line coming onto the straightaway. Just ran out of real estate there at the end. Orlowski going to hang on to P1. Second spot now, the all-white of Daniel Kobovic, Jorn Neumann to the 3. Bruno to the 4, followed by Houghton and Bayer. Lee Martin, followed by Novotny, Vidmar and Craig. Back to the front, over the front side, tabletop. It is Mikhail Orlowski leading the way. Second spot. Now it is going to be Jorn Neumann getting to the 2 spot. Then it's Kobovic, followed by Coelho. Battle of the X-Ray boys here coming up to, oh, Daniel catches the corner, but he's all right. Over the double they go. So now about a straightaway between first and second, straightaway between second and third. Closest battle here is for that 3 spot between Daniel and Bruno. We are 240. 240 left to go here in A main number 1. Excellent race here. Down the straight they go. Bruno hard on the binders at the end of the straight. Closes up right on the rear wing of Kobovic. Orlowski, what a mistake. Oh, no. Neumann got it wrong there, coming down a crisscross. Somehow Orlowski to the front. And there you go. Bruno Coelho back to the 2. Kovabec 3. Neumann 4. Off to the crisscross they go. To the center double. It's Orlowski. They're going to come across the line here with about 2 minutes to go. On to the back straight. Orlowski and Coelho. 2 minutes to go. That time by. Our leader is going to be coming up here in a crisscross. Watch coming down a crisscross. Get it out of there. Get it out of there. Get it, Mika. Watch yourself. Watch yourself. All right, your leader still Orlowski and Coelho. Getting some debris off their track. Good deal. So into the crisscross. It is Mikhail Orlowski from Poland leading the way. Second spot from Portugal, Bruno Coelho. Bruno a little touch of the corner, but he's all right. Good save. We had 1:30 to go. Down the straightaway they go. Third spot is going to be Kovabec, followed by Neumann. Then it's going to be Bayer, Martin, Novotny, Vidmeyer, Hotton, and Craig. Coming up to the front side tabletop, it's still Orlowski. And Coelho running 1-2. Down the straightaway, about a half a straightaway. Right now on the clock, it's a 1.0 second lead. Mikhail and Bruno. Up to the crisscross. Marshals, watch your corner, guys, not the race. We're coming up on 1 minute to go. 1 minute left to go. Mikhail Orlowski, Bruno Coelho, Daniel Kovabec, and your Neumann, your top 4 cars. Our leader is a green, white, blue, black wing. Schumacher there of Orlowski, followed by the all-orange X-ray of Bruno Coelho. 45 seconds to go. 43 to go as they cross the line. Main number 1 here at the opening round of the U.S. presented by X-Ray, Team Associated and Schumacher. 30 seconds on the clock. It is Mikhail and Bruno. Down the back straightaway they go. Last time by. Separation is 0.7 of a second. Coming up to the crisscross is Mikhail. Mikhail gets it sideways. Bruno still about 0.7 back. Over the double leg go. Coming on to the back straightaway, 10 seconds ago. This is the final lap. It's game on. Orlowski and Coelho coming up to the crisscross. Here they go. Bruno trying to square up for the crisscross. Couldn't do it. Time is finished. Race to the finish line. Finish the lap you're on. Final double. Mikhail Orlowski taking a main number 1.
So we had Nathan Ralls earlier taking part in 10 questions. We've got another guest coming up right now. It's not really, strictly speaking, a guest though. With it being the pilot and being the very first episode of this, I thought you might want to get to know who I am a little bit more. Some of you will know me, but a lot of you won't. So I sat the 10 questions as well. So over to, well, me again, to be honest. I must have been 11 years old. My parents bought me a Traxxas Tomcat for Christmas one year. It was a beautiful thing. Yeah, one of those things that's actually got a driver sat inside. Yeah, it did me for a couple of years. I joined the Springfield Model Car Club in Chelmsford in Essex, which later became the Mid-Essex Radio Car Club. They raced on a school playground in Chelmsford and also at a grass and astro track, Great Braxted, which is kind of halfway between Chelmsford and Colchester. And that's where I started racing. So I raced that car first, and then I had a B2, then a B3, then a Lossy Triple X, a Lossy Double X4. I even tried some boring cars for a little while, but yeah, didn't enjoy that so much. And then I quit racing when I went to university because all of a sudden my money was used for beer and well, anything but racing really. Living was the other one, and food, as you can tell. Quite a big fan of that. So racing kind of stopped then. I started again about 6 years ago, and yeah, got really back into it. I now live up near Stoke, so started going to the Stoke RCMCC. That's a tough question. The current driver head on me would say my X-Ray XB4. I do love that car, but I do still have a massive soft spot for the Lossy XX4 that I used to drive, and I still have in pieces in a box. Actually, I keep meaning to restore it, put it all back together. I loved that car. In terms of the car that I always wanted and never had to be the 10th Tech Predator. I mean, what a machine that was. I'd still love one of them, but I'm not a multi-millionaire. I'm not particularly good, so that's kind of difficult, but I guess probably my breakthrough result at my standard anyway was finishing 67th at the Broxtowe National in four-wheel drive this year. Also, I had, I suppose a fairly decent breakthrough last year was a race in the Midwest region, which is tough enough at times, and I made the B final at the Oswestry Regional last year, and that's what gave me my F3, so yeah, that was kind of a breakthrough as well, so probably those two. Again, I'm not very good, so I'm probably not the best person to get tips from, but I would say don't try to go too fast too quick. Work with people to find a setup that's incredibly safe to drive so that you can get it around the track without it wanting to roll over. Stop worrying about being the fastest out there and just concentrate on getting it around the track and keeping it on all four wheels. It's a piece of advice I constantly try and give myself and fail to meet anyway. Based on what I've seen this year, getting around a little bit more, I'm going to say Robin Hood. Fantastic facility. Yeah, it's just a fantastic place to go racing. Don't really feel qualified to answer that one because I've never raced anywhere apart from the UK, but just because being the X-Ray fanboy that I am, I'm going to say the Hoodie Arena. I tend to try and do 5-minute runs without crashing. The biggest thing that I need to work on is keeping my car on all four wheels, so I tend to stick a timer on for 5 minutes and just try and run around as fast as I can without crashing. It never works, but the more I try, the better at it I get. Four-wheel drive, my results tell you why. Well, I'm a huge motorsport fan. You can probably tell from my desktop background behind me. Growing up, Damon Hill was my hero, and then it was Jensen. I was a huge Jensen Button fan. These days I'm a Max Verstappen fan just because he's ridiculously fast, but I'm going to stick with Jensen. And then the big question. That is upside down for one, but that is red. It is red. There is no orange there. It is Dayglow red. So that's it. The very first episode of Over the Loop in the can, as they say in the business. First of all, a big thank you to all of you for watching. I really look forward to hearing your feedback on what you liked, what you didn't like. Although, go careful with that. I am a little sensitive sometimes. No, honestly though, please tell me what you liked and what you didn't like, what you'd like to see more of, and maybe suggest some guests for the future and some retro videos of the month and some race of the month. I really want this to be for you guys to input on as well. It's your show just as much as it is mine. But finally, a big thank you for watching. Please do me a favour, like it, share it, talk about it with your RC friends, and let's see what kind of viewership we can get for this first episode. And then I can come back in a month's time and do it all over again. Next time we come back, I'm going to bring you some updates from the world of RC around the UK and around the world. I'll be doing some filming at a closed test day, so you can see exactly what goes on a closed test day, although without secret bits, because there'll be some stuff that I can't show you. And of course, we'll be wrapping up the very first action from all of the winter series that will be kicking off as well. terms of where I'm racing, I'll be heading off to Silverstone and West Bridgeford this winter for some EOS carpet action. Can't wait to get back on the high grip stuff. But for now, that's it. Thank you for watching, and tune in to Over the Loop next time around.